Hi everybody, Daniel Tyler here. I hope you're all doing well. I just thought I'd take the time to go through an update on cable, which is one of my favourite currencies to trade actually. In my previous video I explained how we could be going up to this sort of area here, going up to the channel resistance, which we have actually broken through that now. So it went higher than I expected. Um, However, I just thought it would be good to give you an update on how I'm going to be approaching cable with the upcoming week, especially as we can see potentially some dollar strength coming in across the board, across all of the majors. But there certainly is still maybe room for movement on the upside. With that in mind, let's crack on with some analysis. I've kept the channel lines in because if you do want to watch how I put my channel lines in, you can just watch the previous video that I've already done on cable. But this is primarily just to show you how I'm going to approach this currency and kind of what it's done already. So this is the weekly time frame. We were in a descending channel and we actually have had a rejection off of the 200 exponential moving average. The 200 exponential moving average, if we zoom out, is actually very, very reliable for cable. It's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're on like the 11th touch. And there's only been once or twice where it's really cut through. So probability wise, we're likely to see a rejection here. You can see on the times where it does touch, we can see overextensions and fake breaks a bit. So ultimately, we could expect it to go that little bit higher. But probability wise, long term, I'm looking for this to start going down, basically. Um, so what we can start doing is we can just have a look to see if we've hit any weekly key levels. So let's have a look here. Yeah, so not only have we had a rejection off of the 200 moving average, but we've also had a rejection off of a weekly resistance level here. And we've actually had a nice candle close, quite an indecisive candle actually. But when we see such a sharp buy off here, we can see price being bought off quite quickly. When we see a candle like this straight afterwards, this is suggesting that we could be in the midst of a reversal. Sellers are starting to come into play in this sort of area, which is quite interesting. I would have thought, as we've seen with previous touches of the 200 exponential moving average, we can see the overextensions. They don't go too far away, and we could see it come up to this sort of key level. So this week coming up, we could see a um, slightly further increase in cable, but we do have to keep in mind we're at a very, very reactive area right now. Now's the time to start thinking about potentially shorting the cable market. Just to go through as well, I'll put in some down trend lines just to see if we're touching a trend line, have a trend line break, and so on and so forth. And I'll make them more prominent for you as well. Excuse me. There we go. So yeah, we actually have had a touch off of that trend line as well. We touched it. There was a slight break, but that isn't a break to me, to be honest. And it's closed below that trend line again. This is just an extra rejection off of that trend line, just like the week before. This is just giving us an idea that the market is rejecting at these levels, and we could see a further movement down. What would really be nice is for us to see quite a bearish week in the week coming up, as that would give us a really, really nice reversal candlestick formation. What I'll also do, it looks like as price has been bought up quite quickly over the last couple of weeks. I just want to see if there's any sort of fib cycle that could have finished or that we may be still in to see some movement on the upside. So we'll put this in here, and I'll take the weekly levels off just so you guys can see them. So on the upside, we've had our C pullback. We're getting very, very close to our D extension, but it hasn't quite hit yet. And then when I put the weekly levels back in, it should be confluenced with that weekly key level there. Look, so I do expect potentially to see some sort of extension up to here, because we have seen it on the 200 moving average before. But long term, I'm looking to short it. Especially at the start of the week, I don't see why I won't go long on it in some areas, but you do just have to be mindful, especially when you're trading both ways on a currency. Then we're going into the daily. In the daily, I'll put in my uptrend lines, and we can see that we are in an uptrend here, and we've also retested the channel resistance. We retested a channel. What was resistance now is acting as support, actually. And just by looking at price action here, just from what I've seen before, it looks like we could be seeing a small double top on the daily time frame. If we go into lower time frames, we'll be able to see it in more detail. And it's good to see this sort of chart pattern, especially after a big buy up in price up to this sort of level here. So what I'll do now actually is I'll put in our daily levels just to see if we are at, yeah, we're in quite a choppy area actually. We have had a rejection, or price has kind of been consolidating around these levels. It certainly lost momentum from the previous days before. Last week was definitely an indecisive week, as you can see. The last 5 candles have just been up and down. So what I'll also do is just to figure out what cycle of the market we're in, I'll put in a Fibonacci just like we did on the weekly. And I'll put it in as an up because we are in an uptrend. Now this makes a lot of sense in a way. Again, I'll take the daily levels off to make it easier. Now this makes a lot of sense in a way. So we can see here that we've hit this trend line. We've started to lose momentum. What I'd like to see is maybe a trend line break to potentially start entering some shorts. And we've hit that B level. We're in that B cycle, and we're heading towards a C pullback. Would like to see that C pullback now. So over the next few days, I would actually like to see some shorts as what I was originally thinking. So if we see a break of this trend line, perfect. That just gives us confirmation that we're looking to short at least until the, let's have a look at this level, at least until the 127.50. And then the 127.50, that's where we could start looking for some buy positions actually. When we do hit this level, we are looking for the D extension up to the 1618 extension, which should be actually confluenced. This is what's great about the London Trading Institute indicators, especially with support and resistance lines. You can use it across multiple time frames. So if I go onto the weekly time frame here, I know that we've already looked at it, but go in and then put the weekly levels on here, and then go back into the daily. I've got all my weekly levels on there, so we can see where price is reacting on a weekly basis. We could, yeah, okay. I think the likelihood of us reaching this sort of area here, I think it's quite unlikely, to be honest, simply because we do have that weekly key level in the way. We could see a couple of days where it does just overextend and get there, but I'm looking for that C pullback overall at the moment. And we can see here with the Fibonacci's, we can use the different levels as other support and resistance levels as well. That's effectively what they are. And we can see the 200. Let me take the levels off again, sorry. Just want to make it as tidy as possible for you guys. So we can see in a previous fib cycle, price a lot of the time always reverts to this purple level, which is the 200. And we're also we've got the 1618 extension. So having this sort of area here is actually a really, really good reversal zone. So it's kind of saying we could see that slight pullback over the next coming days, get some shorts in, and we could see an extension up to this sort of area for it long term to go downwards, like we've just explained. We could see it come up to this sort of area around here, which is also the extension on the weekly as well. We could see it bounce off of this level for it to long term go down, but we could actually start of the week. We could actually see some shorts coming in, some good shorts coming into play, and then we could start thinking about going long up until that D extension. But let's go down into the 4 hour and see what the 4 hour is saying. So the 4 hour, we can actually see the double top in more detail. It's not the most textbook double top ever, but you never really get something that's textbook in the market. It's all about bridging the gap between practical and theoretical knowledge. And although I would prefer this top to be slightly lower than this one, the neckline is it's definitely a straight neckline, but I'm not liking this bump in between. But to me, this is a double top. We've had, in the context of the market, we've had a good buy up in price, and then we've had hit a resistance level, price looks like it's wanting to go down. At the moment, we are rejecting off of the channel support and also the 50 moving average. However, if we put in our up trend lines, we'll hopefully see a nice picture of what's going on. Perfect. This gives us really, really good confirmation that the market is looking to go down, simply because there's an 80% chance when trend lines are drawn like this that the market will hit the next trend line, and we've had this trend line break. What we could see is maybe a slight rejection of this channel support to retest the trend line and for it to shoot down, or we could see it shoot down to the 200 moving average and the other trend line. And it should be confluenced where that fib level is roughly as well. So now's actually a really good time to fit in some shorts. And then just to add in some confirmation, we do have some MACD divergence as well. The MACD divergence is interesting. It's good just to use it as confirmation. And we can see that we've made a higher high here, and then we've made a lower high here. So if we, just to make it a bit simpler, we can see the trend on the MACD is like this. That's the trend on the MACD. It looks like it's going down. However, when we see where's this high, that high's there, and that high's there, we can see actually price is reacting differently. It's actually going, we've made a higher high on this point here. So this is MACD divergence. This is showing that we could be in the midst of a reversal going towards the downside, which makes quite a lot of sense, especially now that we've had that trend line break as well. But this is, the MACD is great confluence and great confirmation just to show that the market is looking to go down. So we can see maybe a break of this neckline of retest and go down to the trend line level here. So now it's a case of how am I actually going to approach this currency? So what I'm going to do is, at the moment, I'm going to look for shorts, in the fact that if I put in 4 hour levels just to see how much room for movement we've actually got quite a bit. this resistance line is actually, and support line is actually a good neckline level for the double top, which is nice. So a break of this and a retest of this level will be perfect, and I'll be looking to short it most definitely. So what we can do on the hourly, I'm actually not too interested in the hourly right now, thinking about it, because the movement down isn't massive, especially to this sort of trend line. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go down onto the 15-minute, and we can see that we've had a moving average crossover, and it's great to fit in small movements down to these levels. So let's have a look to see. So let's say we want to take it down to the 1.2789. And again, we can use the LTI support and resistance indicator. Onto the 15-minute. Apologies, just bear with me. There we go. So we can see on the downside, on the 15-minute, we've got a lot of room for movement, especially to go down to this sort of level, which is what I just explained. So what I'll be thinking of doing is we've had that 50 and 200 exponential moving average crossover, and it's a simple strategy of using our Fibonacci tool. And what I've found and what I like to do is whenever using the Fibonacci on lower time frames, I like to use the moving averages as some sort of confluence to shoot downwards or upwards, depending on the market. So I like to use the 50 or the 200 just as confirmation on where we're likely to see a rejection at the Fibonacci level. And we can see here that we are in a small fib cycle on the 15-minute. We've had that C pullback, and we are looking to eventually reach this level, which is the 12931, 1.2931. And again, it's just repeating the process. It's just hit that D extension, wait for the C pullback, and go down again. So yeah, I think cable is certainly in an interesting position right now. We could certainly see it push up that little bit higher to hit the D extension on the weekly time frames. But ultimately, right now, I'm going to short it. We could see that extension over the next couple of days, over the next few days after that, after we've had that C pullback. But long term, I'm looking to go short on this currency. I hope this has been useful for you. Please leave as much feedback as possible. We are looking to try and do as much of them as we can, and it does seem relatively useful for you guys. So any feedback is welcome. If you do have any questions, please drop me a message, ask the team. We're happy to help where we can. Thank you very much, and have a lovely weekend, guys. See you later. Bye bye.